Close your eyes and think back to a crisp October night in the 1990s. The air had that perfect mix of coolness and excitement, leaves crunched under your sneakers, and the streets were alive with laughter. Every porch had glowing jack-o'-lanterns, plastic skeletons swaying in the wind, and maybe even a fog machine humming in the distance. It felt like the whole neighborhood was in on the same secret, that Halloween wasn't just a holiday, it was an adventure. Back then, Halloween wasn't about likes on social media or carefully staged costumes for Instagram. It was about kids piling into pillowcases more candy than they could ever finish. About racing from house to house with your best friends, and about costumes that weren't always perfect, always fun. Parents stood back, giving us freedom, and we felt like the night was ours. Today, Halloween feels different. It's shinier, safer, more commercialized, and yet, somehow, less magical. But if you grew up in the 90s, you know exactly why that decade's version of Halloween stands apart. This is a trip back in time to rediscover why Halloween in 90s America was so much better than today. In the 1990s, Halloween wasn't just a single night. It was a whole season. From the moment October rolled around, neighborhoods transformed. Houses decorated with hand-carved pumpkins, orange string lights, and the occasional cardboard cutouts taped to windows. Some families went all out, turning their yards into mini haunted houses with hanging ghosts and gravestones. Others kept it simple, with just a glowing jack-o'-lantern. The streets were alive with kids. Back then, sidewalks were crowded with little vampires, princesses, Power Rangers. Their laughter and chatter filled the air. Parents trusted the neighborhoods. Kids roamed in groups, running from house to house, without fear. You didn't see trunk-or-treat events, or mall trick-or-treating, because the neighborhood itself was the event. Schools and community centers also added to the magic. Halloween parades, classroom parties, local haunted houses. It felt like the entire town was celebrating together. Everywhere you looked, there was a shared excitement. It wasn't polished, it wasn't curated. It was genuine, and that authenticity gave 90s Halloween its magic. One of the most charming parts of 90s Halloween was the costumes. Unlike today, where Spirit Halloween stores pop up on every corner, and Amazon delivers screen-accurate outfits in 2 days. 1990s costumes were often simpler, and in many ways, better. Kids wore those classic plastic masks with the thin elastic band that always seemed to snap halfway through the night. Or they threw something together from home. An old sheet with eye holes cut out to become a ghost. A parent's oversized jacket to transform into a detective. Half the fun was in the creativity. Costumes weren't about perfection, they were about imagination. Even store-bought ones had their own quirky charm. Those vinyl one-piece suits with bright printed logos. Batman, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles. They were uncomfortable, sweaty, cheaply made, but somehow, we loved them. They weren't about looking perfect. They were about feeling like your favorite character. Today's costumes? Higher quality, sure, but they've lost that messy, homemade magic. In the 90s, a costume didn't need to impress strangers online. It only had to survive one night of running house to house, filling your candy bag with treasure. For kids in the 90s, Halloween wasn't just about dressing up, it was about the candy haul. Trick-or-treating felt like an epic quest. You and your friends planned the best route through the neighborhood, hitting the houses rumored to give out full-size candy bars, and skipping the ones that handed out raisins or pencils. The thrill of running from porch to porch with a pillowcase or pumpkin bucket was unmatched. Candy poured in until your bag was too heavy to carry. Reese's, Snickers, Milky Way, Butterfingers. These were the treasures of the night. And once you got home, the fun wasn't over. Dumping your candy onto the living room floor was a ritual. Sorting it into piles, trading with friends or siblings. Maybe you gave up a few Tootsie Rolls to score an extra Kit Kat. What made it different from today was the lack of fear. Parents didn't hover with flashlights, and nobody felt the need to inspect every piece of candy. Sure, urban legends about razor blades existed, but they didn't define the night. Halloween felt freer, less anxious, and more about joy. Today, trick-or-treating is shorter, more cautious, and often replaced by safe events. But in the 90s, The candy chase was pure childhood adventure. If you grew up in the 90s, Halloween wasn't just about costumes and candy, it lived in the pop culture around you. TV, movies, and commercials made October feel like a month-long celebration. Kids' shows embraced the spooky season with specials. The Simpsons gave us their legendary Treehouse of Horror. Nickelodeon aired creepy episodes. Disney Channel gave us Halloween Town. Goosebumps books were traded on playgrounds. And if you were brave, you watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? With the lights off. And of course, Scooby-Doo. The Mystery Inc.'s gang were permanent residents of Halloween. Reruns, VHS tapes, new specials, Shaggy and Scooby stumbling into haunted houses. Unmasking monsters, scaring you just enough, while making you laugh. Commercials added their own flavor. McDonald's gave us those Halloween Happy Meal buckets, pumpkin, ghost, and witch. Pizza Hut and Doritos leaned in with spooky ads, often tied to cartoons or movies. And the movies, Hocus Pocus, Casper, Scooby-Doo marathons. October nights were filled with magic and mischief. Pop culture gave Halloween its soundtrack and backdrop. You didn't just live Halloween for one night, you lived it all October long. One of the biggest differences between 90s Halloween and today was freedom. Halloween night felt like a true adventure. Parents trusted the neighborhoods. Kids roamed in groups without constant supervision. You'd set out after sunset and stay out for hours, running block to block until your legs ached and your candy bag overflowed. There was community too. Neighbors didn't just hand out candy, they decorated, they dressed up. Some even turned garages into haunted houses. Entire blocks came alive. Families sat on porches, chatting, handing out treats. You might stop for hot cider, or wander into a community center dance, or haunted maze. What stands out most is that it all felt organic. No social media event pages, no designated safe zones and parking lots. The neighborhood itself was the safe zone, and everyone was in on it. That mix of freedom and togetherness made 90s Halloween unforgettable. It wasn't about careful planning, it was about pure, unfiltered fun. Now, as much as we love Halloween, today's version feels very different. Safety concerns play a big role. Parents are far more cautious. Kids trick-or-treat only a few familiar houses, or they go to organized trunk-or-treat events in parking lots, or shopping mall trick-or-treating. They're safer, yes, but they don't capture the same adventure. Costumes have shifted too. Homemade creativity is rare. Instead, we see polished, commercialized outfits, spirit Halloween stores, online orders, costumes that look amazing, but feel a little sterile. Even the way kids celebrate is different. Video games, streaming, social media. Back in the 90s, Halloween was the highlight of the fall. Now, sometimes it's just another themed event. Halloween hasn't disappeared. It's just changed. But in that change, it lost some of the messy, magical energy that made the 90s unforgettable. Halloween in the 90s wasn't perfect, but that was part of its charm. Homemade costumes, glowing pumpkins, freedom to roam, and a culture that made the whole month feel special. Today's celebrations, safer, shinier, more convenient, but they can't capture the raw excitement of being a 90s kid on Halloween night. Maybe that's why so many of us feel nostalgic. It wasn't just about the candy. It was about the adventure, the community, the magic. The question is, can we bring a little of that spirit back today?